If you teared up at the end of Uncharted 4, you're not alone. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End was the final chapter of Nathan Drake's journey, a story that began nearly a decade ago. Since then, gamers have found El Dorado, explored the Himalayas, and taken down old rivals. What's up everyone, I'm Jacob with the Leaderboard, and today we're here to check out what exactly made Nathan Drake's final adventure so memorable. So grab your compass, steal your favorite 400-year-old ring inscribed by Sir Francis Drake, because we're diving headfirst into Uncharted territory with 107 facts about Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Let's get started. Uncharted 4 is the final installment of the Uncharted series and the conclusion to Nathan Drake's story. Uncharted was originally pitched as Project Big in 2005, an initiative that Naughty Dog started in order to move on from their more cartoonish games into something more serious. Naughty Dog, who developed the entire Uncharted series, including A Thief's End, are also famous for The Last of Us, the Jak and Daxter series, and the Crash Bandicoot franchise. The Uncharted franchise has a total of 7 games, including the 4 main titles on PS3 and PS4, 2 games for the PS Vita, and the newly released Lost Legacy. A Thief's End follows Nathan Drake as he reunites with his long-lost brother Sam, who is presumed dead. Sam drags a reluctant Nathan out of retirement and domestic bliss for one final treasure hunt. The development for Uncharted 4 underwent a number of shifts, including script changes, reshoots, and the loss of the original creative director Amy Hennig. Uncharted 4 is the first game in the series that Amy did not direct. She left Naughty Dog in 2014. Game director Justin Richmond also left the project in 2014 to work for Riot Games. Richmond previously worked on Uncharted 2 Among Thieves multiplayer and directed Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception. Todd Stashwick from TV's 12 Monkeys was initially attached to play Nathan's brother Sam. He even voiced the original teaser. However, Todd left with Hennig to join her on EA's new Star Wars game. After the departures, The Last of Us's Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley took over as creative directors. They had previously worked as designers on Uncharted Drake's Fortune and Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. Straley and Druckmann took over the job on the condition that they would have full creative control to rewrite the story. This included scrapping millions of dollars worth of work and 8 months worth of development. Straley and Druckmann ended up rewriting much of the script. For example, Nathan's brother Sam was initially meant to be the main antagonist, and Elena played a much larger role as a rhythm-based mini-game. Additionally, in Hennig's version, the first half of Uncharted 4 would have had Nathan fighting with only hand-to-hand combat as a response to the criticism of the violence in the previous games. While cutscenes often show Nathan as a hero of the people, during gameplay he behaves like a murderous sociopath, sort of like Trevor from GTA 5. 2 trailers were released in 2014 at PSX and at E3, but the real story and in-game footage came at E3 in 2015 with the release of a new 15-minute trailer packed with eye-grabbing action, destructible environments, stunning visuals, and classic Uncharted humor. Sony launched one of its largest PlayStation promotions with Uncharted 4. The trailer was shown during key moments, including the premieres of The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. It even saw screen time in theaters, with ads airing before movies like Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Deadpool, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, Captain America: Civil War, X-Men: Apocalypse, and the most obvious movie to show these before, Bad Neighbors 2. Sony also became a sponsor of one of the largest sporting events in the world, the UEFA Champions League, with an Uncharted 4 banner featured prominently across the entire stadium. In October of 2015, Naughty Dog remastered and re-released the entire Uncharted franchise for PS4. The newly titled Nathan Drake Collection gave users exclusive beta access to the multiplayer world of A Thief's End. Not only was it exclusive, but it was released earlier than the wide release of the beta. Uncharted 4 was set to be released in March 2016, but script rewrites and reshoots delayed it until April 2016, and then again until May 2016. During production, Naughty Dog released a docu-series called The Making of Uncharted 4: A Thief's End on PlayStation's YouTube channel. It was meant to give fans of the game an inside look into the creation of the game. Early on, both Druckmann and Straley knew that Uncharted 4 would be the last in the series, so they made sure to layer themes of beginnings and endings throughout the game. Naughty Dog notoriously avoids the use of producers and leaves most production work up to its developers. CEO Evan Wells believes that this opens the door for anyone, no matter their status, to pitch an idea or be involved in the decision-making process. There are pros and cons to this approach, however. For example, when Druckmann and Straley were separated during production, they wrote out different ways for an Uncharted situation to play out and ended up losing 3 weeks of work because of the mix-up. Ultimately, they went with Druckmann's idea, but we're sure it wasn't easy. Druckmann and Straley both agree that this was the hardest production they've ever had on a game, but they wanted to make sure that they honored the Drake story and give fans an unprecedented experience. In typical game development, writers don't begin their work until after the gameplay is created, but Naughty Dog had its writers and developers working together at the same time. It cuts development time and helps avoid later gameplay issues by fine-tuning the experience in real time. According to character concept artist Richard Lyon, character design for the game required tons of back and forth communication between developers and artists. It's not an easy job, especially not for the size of next-gen platforms. He said that a new IP requires over 140 sketches alone. For environment artists, the process was much different. These artists worked closely with developers throughout the process, which helped solve any technical issues that arose during the animation. At one point, Drake's chest hair was complicating the hair animations, and the problem was solved by reusing foliage tech. To build the environment, artists would first draw up concept art for developers to approve. Then environment artists would create a block mesh or a 3D sculpture of the physical area. Then they would build assets, and next, upon approval, artists would add color and refine the details by adding foliage and other distinct features to the scene. In the early stages of development, programmers had trouble incorporating all of the physics that the PS4 was capable of. Early versions of the game therefore featured some very unrealistic gameplay. A Thief's End gave developers new gadgets and weapons to consider. One of the most innovative of these was the grapple hook, which allowed for Nathan to swing from ledge to ledge, escape attack, and battle enemies in dynamic new ways. The hook also came with its own set of physics, so players and developers could get creative with the tool. Uncharted 4 is the first game in the series to have in-game cutscenes which seamlessly transition into and out of gameplay, even without a black screen to separate the two, making the entire experience more immersive. Frank Zen, a character artist at Naughty Dog, says that Uncharted 4's game quality is right up there with the CGI technology of blockbuster films. Characters within the cutscene could easily be a digital double within most live-action films. The game has around 2 hours and 45 minutes of cinematic sounds during gameplay, which proved to be a fun challenge for designers. Sound designers physically went out and recorded the sounds of the game by recreating scenarios experienced by the gamer, including shooting guns, driving vehicles, and messing around with foliage. Ambient noise was incredibly important in keeping the game realistic and believable for the player. Audio was split into 4 quads, so the sound volume reacted to wherever Nathan was facing. A sound behind Nate would be less audible than one in front of him. Sound artists actually went off-roading in Nevada and Arizona to capture vehicle audio. This not only made the sound real, but also helped the animators in visualizing exactly how a vehicle would react to certain terrain. Sound designer Jeremy Rogers also went out and bought an authentic Indiana Jones bullwhip to pay homage to the game's inspiration. This is what gives the grapple hook its distinct sound. The game's soundtrack was composed by Henry Jackman. Jackman has previously scored such films as Jack Reacher and Captain America: Civil War. A Thief's End is the only Uncharted title not composed by Greg Edmondson. Without Edmondson, Uncharted 4 also doesn't feature Drake's theme song, or any song for that matter, in the main menu. Filming for Uncharted 4 took 2 years to complete. Actors were in the studio at least 5 days a month. Nathan Drake's performance alone incorporates over 3.5 hours of recorded animated movement. Like the writers, actors work in real-time development. They record, play, and then re-record depending on how well it fits into the game. Naughty Dog values everyone's input in creating the best gaming experience. Druckmann and STRALEY wanted to give Uncharted a more sandbox feel, stemming from their experience working on The Last of Us. While the sequences in A Thief's End are still structured, players have much more of a say in Nate's storyline. Players can now participate in Nathan's travels by driving him to different places, which is a major advantage of the open-world aesthetic. A Thief's End was the first Uncharted title to be made exclusively for PS4, which allowed the creators to explore the animation like never before. Such simple tasks like climbing and picking things up became much more of a challenge for gamers. In Uncharted 4, the climbing animations alone use more memory than Drake's entire moveset from Uncharted 3. Mocap technology and computer animation gave A Thief's End a realistic feel. The pickup move has over 60 animations, which is significantly more than the Robotic 2 featured in previous games. With the increased memory capacity of the PS4, animators were able to expand the NPC's mobility, which allowed for them to make their decisions on the best route for attack. This made gameplay more challenging and forced players to utilize Drake's increased mobility. Developers were also able to incorporate Drake's emotions into the gameplay. For example, Nathan can sprint no problem when nothing is going on, but when he's being chased or shot at, he'll flinch, duck, and sometimes stumble when he runs. There are almost 1,200 bones in Nathan's face alone, which is way more than the 200 in Uncharted 3. Animators were also able to make Drake's physical characteristics more realistic. Veins appear on his arms when he exerts himself, and his lips occasionally stick together when he opens his mouth. Impressive, you know, in a vaguely gross way. Uncharted 4 has 10 times the explorable space of the earlier installments. Artists created stunning views and scenery throughout these in-game locations. The PS4 allowed artists to cinematically detail every crevice and blade of grass, making it all look very Instagrammable. Additionally, Naughty Dog teamed with award-winning design company Algorithmic to create a more detailed texture within these backgrounds. Josh Straub, a gamer with cerebral palsy, founder of DAGER, and avid Uncharted fan, contacted Naughty Dog about its accessibility features after his disability kept him from beating Uncharted 2 on his own. UI designer Alexandria Neonakis heard his plea and worked to create accessibility options that would allow people with disabilities to beat Uncharted 4 without aid. This isn't the first project that Nolan North, Nathan Drake, and Troy Baker, Sam, have voiced together, or even the second. They've previously worked on Saints Row 4, Transformers, and Shadow of Mordor. Nathan's brother, Sam Drake, was discussed in brainstorming sessions for earlier Uncharted installments but didn't come into existence until Uncharted 4. Controversy occurred during development because Laura Bailey was cast to play villain Nadine, a black woman of South African descent. However, Naughty Dog claims that the character was designed after casting. More controversy ensued when concept art from Assassin's Creed Black Flag was used in an early trailer for the game. Naughty Dog was forced to issue an apology and change the image. In 2016, during a presentation at GDC, a Naughty Dog game designer inadvertently leaked the list of levels for the new game. It was only up for a moment, but crafty gamers were able to grab a snapshot anyway. Uncharted 4 was dealt another blow during distribution when a chunk of copies were stolen while in transit. An investigation ensued after it was discovered that games were being traded in the UK before their official release dates. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End was finally released on May 10th, 2016. Uncharted 4 sold over 2.7 million copies worldwide in its first 2 weeks. It also holds the record as the PS4's fastest-selling first-party title. It also was the top-grossing game of the month of May 2016, outselling Call of Duty Black Ops despite being a single-platform game. Uncharted 4 grossed a whopping $56 million in 1 month alone. By the end of December 2016, Uncharted had sold over 8.7 million copies, which blows the rest of the franchise out of the water. By comparison, Uncharted 3 only sold 6.7 million in its first year. The game was extremely well received, scoring a 10 out of 10 on GameSpot and a 93% on Metacritic, becoming the PS4's highest-scoring original game. Sony marketed an Uncharted 4 PS4 bundle to encourage gamers to upgrade their console for the new exclusive. The console featured an image of Nathan Drake from the cover with Uncharted written in gold. Uncharted 4 cleaned up at awards season, winning Best Game at the BAFTA and Empire Awards, as well as additional awards for Best Performance and Best Narrative. It also won an Annie for Outstanding Achievement in Character Animation in a Video Game. There are 24 chapters in A Thief's End, but players can only play through 22. However, the unplayable prologue and epilogue chapters expand upon Nathan Drake's story on both ends of his life, so just sit back and enjoy. Uncharted 4 has about 18 hours of gameplay. Uncharted 4 is the only game in the series to have opening credits. It was an opportunity to pay respect to everything that went into the first 3 games of the series. In Uncharted 4, Nathan and his brother Sam team up to go after Henry Avery's treasure, who was a real figure from the 1600s. He was a slave trader turned pirate and was often referred to as the Pirate King. Henry Avery is thought to have plundered around $900,000 worth of currency and resources. He disappeared without ever being caught. Henry Avery even makes an appearance in multiplayer as a supernatural boss in co-op survival mode. He has the power to create clones and teleport himself around the arena, making him a slippery rascal. The game obviously has a strong pirate theme, taking place primarily in Madagascar, but you also get to visit some stunning locations in Italy and South America, just to name a few. There are 8 game modes in Uncharted 4 multiplayer, including Team Deathmatch, Command, Plunder, Bounty Hunter, Survival, and more. Naughty Dog is still steadily releasing additional content for the multiplayer platform. Uncharted 4 multiplayer allows players to harness supernatural elements and powers from previous games through mysticals. They include the Wrath of El Dorado, the Spirit of Jinn, the Chintamani Stone, the Staff of Eor Manco, and Indra's Eternity. Uncharted 4 is the only game in the series that doesn't include supernatural elements in the story mode. That's right, no zombies, no super mutants, and not even one hallucination. Players can also utilize sidekicks in multiplayer gameplay, each with a unique skill to help earn cash and win matches. There are 4 possible sidekicks for players to choose from: the Sniper, Savior, Hunter, and Brute. Like its predecessors, Uncharted 4 multiplayer features boosters, which are unlocked by scoring points. Their effect is increased by completing actions encouraged by the unlocked booster. Microtransactions in Uncharted 4 use a different setup than previous games. Currency is split between Uncharted coins, which can be purchased with real money, and relics, which can only be earned through in-game events like daily missions. This was meant to even out the unfair playing field of microtransactions that gives paying players an advantage in multiplayer. All added DLC maps and modes to the Uncharted 4 multiplayer platform are free, and anything not free can be unlocked by playing the single-player campaign or paid for by relics. Naughty Dog released its multiplayer philosophy in May of 2016, stating fairness first, an evolving experience, content for everyone, and a unified community as goals for the new platform. Naughty Dog constantly updates daily challenges and chests for players to unlock, which keeps gamers coming back every day. A recent DLC pack for Uncharted 4 included costumes and items from The Last of Us, a nod to Druckmann and STRALEY, who developed both games. Director Neil Druckmann is also a huge fan of the Monkey Island games, so naturally he snuck a painting of Guybrush Threepwood into Uncharted 4. Nate and Sam examine the painting, but neither can identify the fictional pirate. Although, to be fair, Nate has more than proven himself to not be a gamer, so I guess that's fine. Speaking of, during a cutscene, Nathan begrudgingly plays a memorable level of Naughty Dog's Crash Bandicoot from PS1, where you run towards the camera as a large boulder rolls behind you. In a callback later in the game, Nate and Elena have to outrun impending doom, jumping over barriers from the exact same perspective as the Crash level. The game also pays homage to previous Uncharted installments and flashbacks, including a Panamanian jail from Drake's Fortune and gameplay within the jail featured in the prologue. In multiplayer, gamers can choose taunts for their characters character. Some of these include dances like the moonwalk and bling bling, a reference to Drake, the rapper, not Nathan Drake's epic dad moves in the Hotline Bling video. DRUCKMAN and STRALEY also snuck in a Last of Us American Daughters poster on the wall of a room during the epilogue. Anyone else ready for The Last of Us 2? Cause I was ready before they even announced it. Uncharted 4 has the most collectibles of any game in the series with 193 treasures, conversations, journal entries, and notes. The first game had only 61, while the second and third games had 101 each. What, have they got some problem with the number 107 or something? Of the collectibles, there are 3 that pay direct reference to previous Naughty Dog games. They are the strange pendant from The Last of Us, the strange fruit from Crash Bandicoot, and the strange relic from Jak and Daxter. Pretty strange. There are also 68 trophies that can be earned throughout the game, including the 17 secret achievements and the 12 from the Survival DLC. Like in previous games, Nathan can play Marco Polo with himself or a friend for an achievement. At E3, there was a glitch in the gameplay trailer where Nathan was stuck standing in the market while Sully took off for the mission. Creators had some fun with this and made an in-game achievement called Stage Fright if you stood completely still for 30 seconds in that area. Players can change the filter of the game in Uncharted 4, making everything black and white, sepia, or even look like something straight out of Borderlands. Bullet Speed mode is a feature that slows things to a crawl whenever you aim your gun at an enemy, perfect for hitting headshots from a distance. This might also be a throwback to the famous bullet time of Max Payne. This is the first Uncharted game to feature dirt or blood on Nathan from gameplay during cutscenes. Unlike previous entries, A Thief's End features branching dialogue, like in the Telltale games. Players can choose how Nathan responds to conversations and cutscenes. What you choose to say does affect gameplay, and with each playthrough, players can make different choices to vary their experience. AIs are more reactive to Nate's movements, so stealth is essential. Players are forced to use large environments to creatively sneak past guards or take them down silently, which keeps players on their toes. Naughty Dog released the standalone game Uncharted Lost Legacy in August of 2017, which gave fans an inside look into the backstory of Chloe as well as what happened to Nadine following Uncharted 4. Nadine is the only major antagonist within the Uncharted series to survive the main storyline. Could it be that they knew she would be valuable in later games? Those who pre-ordered Lost Legacy also received free access to the Naughty Dog title Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy, which was remastered for the PS4. Lost Legacy was a completely separate game from A Thief's End, but Naughty Dog stuck to its multiplayer philosophy and still offered full access to the Uncharted 4 multiplayer platform, giving access to all gamers, even those who opted out of the initial title. While there are many reasons that Naughty Dog has decided to end the Uncharted series, one of them is the difficulty to keep the story grounded and real with the capabilities that the next-gen consoles offer. According to game designer Robert Cogburn, it would be difficult to expand the universe more while sticking to the already established physical rules. Before the Uncharted finale that we know was determined, Naughty Dog toyed with the idea of an Uncharted story set in outer space. Maybe we can hope for a future game on Mars? I mean, that would be Uncharted territory. A movie version of the Uncharted series has been in the works since 2009, with a script penned by Joe Carnahan of Smoking Aces fame and Spider-Man Homecoming's Tom Holland set to play Nathan Drake, so we might still have a bit more Uncharted in the future. And there you have it. Once again, I'm Jacob, and thanks for watching 107 Facts about Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Have you played it? And if you did play it, how many buckets did your tears fill? Did we miss anything? Comment below and let us know. Don't forget to click that little bell icon next to the subscribe button to become part of our notification squad, and if you like getting more from your games, subscribe to the Leaderboard, your home for video game facts.